Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
So we're so happy you all came here. This is our first event, and we hope to have many more in the future. And the idea here and the outcome is that we spend a lot of our lives so busy with all the things that, of course, are important to do, but the big things about love and healing, purpose, value, can easily get, pushed to the side when we have to go to the grocery store and buy groceries, right? So the idea is we're going to take time once a month or once every 2 months to come together to reinstill these ideas, have conversations, and create new possibilities in our lives. So we hope after this event that it goes into your life to give new perspectives. We're going to have each of the panelists share a little bit, and I was wondering which one first. I thought, well, I'll just go the order from where I am here. So let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Dr. Eva Benson.
Good afternoon. I'm totally honored to be here with you today. Thank you all for taking an hour or two of your Saturday afternoon to be here with us and discuss these important topics: living your purpose, value, and dreams. Wow, not every day do we take time to sit here and think about our purpose and values and dreams. And are we living those or not? I have the opportunity to live my purpose every single day as a healthcare professional, as an advanced practice nurse, and with a specialty in oncology. I have the opportunity, as advanced practice nursing, we have, as nurses and healthcare professionals, we have the opportunity to walk with people during the most intimate and private times of their life. From having a baby and birthing a new life into this world, the nurses are there holding your hand and at your bedside, to coming in and out of the operating room, to facing chronic illness and chronic disease, to facing the hospice at the end of your life, or crises, unplanned for crises in the emergency room. It's the nurses and the healthcare professionals that are there to help us to walk with you and I through those serious times in life. Sometimes I think it's those times in life when, for the first time, many of us have the opportunity to face our own mortality for the first time. My specialty is cancer, particularly breast cancer. My role, as happened yesterday, is sitting with a 39-year-old who just delivered her baby 4 months ago, talking to her about this 4-centimeter mass in her right breast, and a big another 4-centimeter axillary lymph node, able to tell her in the privacy of that exam room, this is probably cancer. We're going to walk you through this. I'm going to get you through this. Fortunately, most breast cancers are very treatable. I can't say that for every kind of cancer, but most breast cancers are absolutely treatable. And if we do these 4 steps over the next 6 to 10 months, you're going to live a normal lifespan. You're going to die from something else long before you die from this. And at the same time, helping people understand the severity of the condition, but yet guiding them one step at a time to a solution that makes sense. Building that sense of trust. I'm here to help you through this. I'm here to guide you if you have any problems connecting with the physicians, connecting with your health insurance plan, whatever the issue is. You're not going to sit at home by yourself and worry. You're going to come and talk to me. And I'm here to help you because I've helped lots of people through this process. Knowing that they leave there for the first time face to face with their own mortality. Scared to death when you hear the word cancer. But yet, hopefully leave with a sense of hope and purpose. And starting a journey, their own journey, of what is really important in life. What is my purpose and my values? And that's what we are there to do every single day as healthcare professionals. to help people start on their journey. Survivors of cancer look at life differently. They really do. And there's probably many in this room who can look at that as well. When you face death, face to face with death, and survive that and conquer that, you have a new sense of purpose and mission in life. And that's the joy that I have, is helping people through those really difficult times, and yet giving them hope that at the end of the day, we're going to face life with new purpose, with new mission, with new value. So that's an honor that I have, is to walk beside people on a daily basis with those that are going through those kinds of questioning periods in their life. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Give our Dr. Intervention a hand. Thank you. And let's hear from Mr. Tim Boyles about.
Hello. How are you today? Amazing, like Saturday afternoon, and you're sitting in a room with closed doors, listening to a bunch of people talk. This is amazing. Anyway, my name is Tim Boyles, and there's one thing you should know about me. I'm a lawyer. So you know what that means, don't you? You know what that means? That means you can trust me. You can trust me. Exactly. And I had the honor of doing a lot of fundraising around the world. I was just in Japan actually a couple of months ago for the third time. Beautiful, wonderful, I should say, konnichiwa. But the idea of world culture, a diverse world culture, where we respect each other's differences and recognize each other's commonality, becomes quite apparent if you've had the honor of traveling a lot and interacting with people around the world. And I should also say that I've tried out, trust me, I'm a lawyer, in every country that I've been in, and it gets a laugh in every country that I've been in. So I don't know what that's about, but it is true. I came from a background of social consciousness. I grew up wanting to be a politician. That's why I went to law school. And then I went to India, and I traveled for the first time. Exited 707, I guess we had back in 1973, in what's now Mumbai, now was Bombay at the time. The terminal was one story, air conditioned. Walked down a stairway through the building, no security. And out the other side is the poorest enclave ghetto, one of the poorest on earth. So I went from being, a college-educated, upper middle class, white dude from Northern California into this environment, and my life changed in an instant.
Wow.
Because I realized that this is not a world of happiness. This is not a world of solutions. This is a world that is going downward gradually, and maybe even politely, sometimes not so politely. But when I look at the world around us, I see a lot of noise. I see a lot of confusion. And although journalism and media have its place, and there's a constitutional strength to free speech and all of that. But what gets embodied in those messages is a crisis that's happening here, there, everywhere, on a daily basis, and it's all left, of course, unresolved. And what the actual result of that is a distraction to what's really happening. The distraction of the slow motion death of our world culture, which is based on ignorance, which is based on illiteracy, which is based on the ability or the inability not to understand each other because we don't have the ability to actually reach and communicate with each other. So you might have heard mentioned, I'm a Scientologist, and I know a lot of you in this room have probably experienced religious suppression as we have in our group. I am as proud of how far we've come in as little time. Look at early Christianity. It took
Oh, yeah.
a few hundred, even thousands of years to establish. Oh yeah, they're usual, they're mainstream. But a lot of us in our newer religions are doing that at a much higher pace. My purpose is to help. My purpose is to service others in whatever way I can. And I'll leave you with this. We are creative, spiritual entities. That's the truth, as I see it. You have your own. I'm not going to tell you to perceive or to adhere to my own truth, but that's mine. And when I look at other people, I look at them in the same manner. So when we see failings, when we see dictatorships and suppression and injustice and these other things that are so prevalent, and media makes them into this broadcasted loudspeaker, how prevalent they are. You have a choice. You can either succumb to that or you can rise above it. And that, to me, is the true purpose of my life, the true purpose of how I support my family. My wife is here. This is my wife, Rona, by the way. And I'm told I can't say anything more about her, but that's my wife, Rona. And then we have two wonderful daughters and a grandson who we cherish, and a wider family than that. But that's another recognition. This is a whole family group that is making its way, and to help them, and to, by that unit, help society. So I probably overstated my time, but that's my purpose, is to service, but recognize true service in the recognition of each person's spirituality, each person's immortality, beyond this mortal coil that we are, of course, dealing with as well. So, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Excellent. Excellent. Now let's hear from Nate Whitman.
Thank you, George. I'm also very moved, as the other panelists, that you're all here on the Saturday afternoon. That is living my dream, that I can be together with such people who care about such questions and such issues.
Amen.
And are willing to sacrifice their time to actually do something about it.
Yes.
Find out more or take action. And so this is my dream come true in this moment. My background, a little bit how I became the man that I am today. I grew up not far from here, in a not very religious Jewish family. And but as you heard, I'm a high school teacher, so I need props. I need to teach with visuals. Some of you are probably visual learners, so I have to incorporate everybody. That's my training. My parents had a lot of books in our house, and I grew up with the Time Life series of books on every topic imaginable. And one of my favorite books that I grew up with as a kid was called The Family of Man. And it's one of the most famous photographic journals. It's actually now a formal museum in Europe that you can visit all the original photographs. And I was inspired because it shows just what Tim was talking about, the unity and diversity, the commonality, everybody seeking joy and happiness, everyone looking for that, but there's so many different colors and shapes and ways to find that happiness. So it really celebrated man as a family. And I thought, well, that's the world I live in. This is our world. And as I grew up, I decided that once I disappointed my mom, when she found out I wasn't going to be a rabbi, then she found out I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, do marriage and family therapy. She said, well, that's like a rabbi without the religion. So that's okay, that's fine. Next best thing. And as a Jewish mother, of course, you wanted me to be a doctor first, but I don't like blood. So yeah, that's my daughter's, that's her job now, is to try to pursue that. But so I was pursuing my career. I was a welfare worker in Santa Barbara after I graduated. I went back to school to pursue marriage and family therapy. And during that year of postgraduate study, that's where I had my turning point, as Tim had his in India. I was studying the service industry, how we're helping people this is the richest country, most blessed country on earth, but our service industry helping people with their problems in life, the mental health services. As I studied it academically, then I came to the dramatic realization that the more we help individual people and help families, which was to be my lifelong profession, the worse the mental health situation became in the United States. And so I had to confront that. Do I want to pursue a profession and a career knowing the ship is sinking, happy and comfortable in my own life, or do something else? And that was facing me while I was doing my postgraduate studies. And then right at that point, one of my very best friends introduced me to this book, The Unification Principle. And I want to read the very first line and it got me thinking. And the first line of the introduction very simply says, everyone, without exception, is struggling to gain happiness. Now, Tim gets a laugh in every country he visits about being a lawyer, a trustworthy lawyer. I've been to more than 40 countries, and so far I haven't had anybody that disputed that point. Everyone, without exception, is struggling to be happy. And it took me back to the book of Family of Man, and all the pictures of these happy people, whether they were rich or poor, they were all involved in doing something that made them happy. And that's what we seek. Everyone seeks that. We're all common. We're all the same. But if everyone is seeking that, everyone throughout the world, more than 200 nations, why isn't it a happy world? And why is our happiness, the feeling of happiness, temporary, just momentary? So this wonderful book, Unification Principle, goes on to explain a very simple thing about purpose in life, and that everything has a purpose. And when you're fulfilling your purpose, you feel happy. And if you're not fulfilling your purpose, you're not. And how do we gain happiness? Through having a desire, pursuing that desire's fulfillment. And when it's fulfilled, we feel happiness. Of course, we have physical desires, which we all satisfied during lunch today. Thank you, Katrina. If Katrina's still here. I don't know if she's still awake after cooking all morning. So we have physical desires, and we know the satisfaction is temporary, so it's a lifelong thing that we continue to satisfy our physical desires. But man has other desires beyond the physical, and these are often, if we don't understand our purpose, if we don't understand why we're here, those are often ignored, neglected, and then we have this sense, the feeling of, is that all there is? Isn't there more to being here than just pursuing my next meal, pursuing my next nice experience, my next movie, whatever? So, for me, my next ice cream cone. So we all have this kind of experience that this happiness is temporary. And more realia. So as I said, everything has a purpose, and principle is based on it has a strategic assumption that we can look at nature, we can look at the natural world, how things are, and learn about ourselves, invisible things, and like philosophical or spiritual questions, like what's my purpose in life? We can find insight through the world that we can see, the created world. And nothing creates itself, everything is created. Everything created has a purpose. So, for instance, a purpose and value. What's the value of an electron? How much would you pay for an electron? Well, like lunch today, it's free, right? The electrons are free, they're all over the place, so you don't have to pay for them. What's the value of an electron? Does it mean it's priceless or useless or what? What is it? Electron exists by itself. It doesn't really do anything. It has no real value. How about proton and neutrons? What are their value as individual entities? They exist, they have a purpose, but what is that purpose? By themselves, they don't fulfill any purpose at all. But you put a proton with some neutrons together with an electron, and suddenly you have an atom. You have these things cooperating and working together. Something larger and greater is created. So this is a miracle in itself. If I were a religious person, I would call it a miracle. I'm also a scientific person, so I say that's amazing. That is incredible. That happens. So then now we have this simple atom, hydrogen atom, What's the value of a hydrogen atom by itself? What does it do? What's it good for? What's its use? Again, not really much. But if you can get it in the vicinity, a couple of them together in the vicinity of an oxygen atom, if you can get them to come close together, suddenly they join together, and excuse me for the cleanup crew, and suddenly you have this. You have water. So what's the value of water? Right now it's really important. Water is the basis of all life in our universe. So you have this simple electron, proton, no value by themselves, but when they come together, then you see phenomenal value. There's no life without the proton, electron, oxygen, hydrogen. So everything in nature has a purpose and fulfilled through relationship. And we can infer that they're happy when that happens. That's just an inference, not a scientific evaluation. Okay, so now, same thing with people. When we create something, we create it. Everything we create has a purpose. And again, I decided to use this since it's Saturday, it's almost 100 degrees, and I'm really thirsty. So we created this nice cup with a purpose. Oh, that's the wrong cup. Don't have my reading glasses on. So this is a nice plastic cup. I'm thirsty. The water went in the cup. That's what's purpose, and it's fulfilled when the water gets into my mouth. Even the coughing reflex has its purpose. Now, what value is something whose purpose? Unfortunately, if I'm thirsty and I use a cup with two purposes, or contradictory purpose, to hold water and to drip water, I'm no longer happy. Neither is my wife. She has to clean up the mess. So, it's the same thing with human beings. We have purpose. When we fulfill it, we gain happiness. If we don't know it, if we don't fulfill it, we lack that happiness, lasting happiness. Excuse me. So again, in nature, when we look at nature, we see even a lot of violent things. I talked about the nice harmony of electron and proton in an atom. And I was thinking about this group. I don't know if I was hungry or not, but I started thinking about lions. Okay, they're the kings, king of the jungle. And we have several wonderful, distinguished African guests today. And so I'm thinking of the plains in Africa and the lion. The lion's at the top of the food chain. And in nature, even we look at a lion as being so violent, but actually the lion keeps everything below it in the food chain in its proper order, living for its own existence and then a higher purpose. And then the lion, when it's hungry, it goes out and hunts, say, an antelope. And the antelope has a purpose. Food for the lion. It's there. That's its purpose. So the lion, what's interesting about nature is the lion will never go out to a herd of antelope and kill all the antelope. Kill everyone. It will go out and find an antelope that's older or sick or weak, grab that one, and that becomes the food for the lioness and her mate, the king, and their family. And the result in nature is even we see violence like that, and if you watch the National Geographic specials, it's so violent. But the result is a healthy herd of antelope and a healthy pride of lions, harmonized in nature. And that's how nature works. Only when we get to the level of man, human beings, do we find in the 1800s in America, people came for sport and killed all the buffalo in the country to where it was nearly extinct. So I'll just, because I'm using up my time, my 4 minutes is just about up, right? When I heard about 4 minutes, immediately I thought of Mission Impossible, right? I can't do 4 minutes, and the theme song started going dun, 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 and I see the tape starting to burn. So they're burning tape in the back for me and stuff. Anyway, only with man, somehow our purpose got off, our activities got out of kilter with nature. And the unification principle, what I studied, actually, the first page is we seek happiness, the rest of it is how do we fulfill it? What do we do to actually find our real purpose in life, live for that purpose, and make this world, the one we're all talking about, a world family, a world of joy, a world of beauty. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists. Excellent job. Three incredible people that I have great respect for. So just some questions to think about. Dr. Eva Benson, so for many people, when we hit a defining moment in our lives, right? It may come in the beginning, middle, and end, but it's kind of like this one time where everything changes. We enter into like a new consciousness by sometimes tragic things, right? Or like when you said when that young lady in her 30s found out she had cancer. So as we're in the driver's seat in life, that may come or may not come. But you see it almost on a daily basis. So what are the common denominators that you can share when you see a person, their emotional state, where they're at, and what can we extract from that we can cross-fertilize to everybody's life here? Like, what is the common denominators in all those experiences? So they can, maybe someone just can grab something for themselves in their lives as they walk out of this place today.
So I think all of us come to a point in life when we realize we need somebody bigger than ourselves, somebody to help us that's stronger and has much more capacity. When we realize our limited capacity as humans, maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Things out of our control for our lives or for our children's lives that we have no power to fix, no power to take it away. It's not. There's been times I've heard mothers say, "I wish we could turn back the clock and live this last hour over again, and this incident would never have happened." And that's what we find ourselves in life sometimes. Since we can't turn back the clock, we have to move forward and find the best resources we can, hopefully to get through it and to move on victorious at the end. Some of those crises are temporary and are easy to fix. Some of them change your life forever. And what kind of resources? All of us, sooner or later, have to have some set of resources to pull upon. For me, it's faith and family, realizing that there is a God who created me and made me and loves me and somehow has some kind of purpose in this situation for me and for my life. But when I have no resources on my own, then where do I go to get some bigger resources outside of myself? And again, for me, it's faith and family and people that I trust. When faced with mortality for the first time in your life and having to answer some of those questions, everyone has to find those resources on their own sooner or later. I don't think very few people come to the end of their life without having those types of experiences. So to me, the earliest, the sooner you can find out where your resources are coming from, probably the most dynamic and better and happy your life will be. So there's no harm in having trouble in life. It's a matter of where do we get our resources to pass through those troubles. Did that answer your question?
Perfectly. Thank you so much. Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Dr. Benson. Mr. Tim Boyles, we have two questions for you. I know with time constraint, it was a lot to pack in, but if you could unpack that experience in India, what it was, that kind of emotion, like the why behind that the people here can, because not everyone gets a moment like that, right? You had that moment, and I'm sure we all do to different degrees, bigger or smaller perhaps, but for yours personally, like what was it that was so defining, kind of altered the path for your purpose and value? If you could unpack that a little more.
Okay. I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what I was actually taking in. It took a while for me to understand and get a perspective on life as I viewed it. I had to actually realign my definition or my understanding of humanity. We live in an instant coffee society in America, and we are obviously diverse. It's been a country that's created and a culture that's created by many cultures coming together. But we have this amazing and sometimes detrimental sense of entitlement and sense of taking many things for granted
Yes.
that 7/8 of this planet do not. And I think that's what I was seeing in part. The other thing that I was looking at really was a part of humankind that had no hope, that had no sense of future. And that's something we take for granted.
Yes.
As you were saying, Eva, the idea of being knocked down, it goes along with the idea of getting up. But if you're in a state where you're so knocked down that there's no hope of getting up, that was a mind blower for me to see people like that. So, as I've come forward now a few years, whatever it's been, almost 50 years, I guess. Here's how I see it. We are all, whether we are in a rich or poor country, in the same trap. And this is a trap of the material world telling us that we're small, telling us that we're ineffective, telling us that we have no hope. Because, yes, electrons do exist, but electrons, in my view, don't speak to you. People do. Other spiritual entities speak to you. So we are in a combined quest to bring this material world under control so we can survive in it. That's how I see it. And that's how, you get down on people who are conspicuously consuming as their purpose in life. I don't know how many of you have been out on the street to try to talk to others about your faith or your religion or your purpose, but folks, people are not interested, okay? They're not. Because they're interested in the very, very momentary comforts of their car, of their home, of their retirement fund, of the club they're going to, the bar, the movie. And what Nate said, if you're not living your purpose, you know it. You know it. And those that are living half lives, with all due respect, because they actually know, although they won't admit it to themselves, that they're not living a purpose worth living. That's a challenge. But we are in a quest of recognition of the spiritual greatness and immortality in all of us, and the recognition that we're all, in some degree or another, in this struggle against material, in a struggle of making material work for us and not the other way around. Right? So I hope that answered your question. You had another question.
I do have a second one. Good job, by the way.
Time's up.
Okay, here. I don't know if this is possible, but within 1 minute, is it possible to explain how Scientology made a difference in your life? What would be one point?
Okay.
And there are probably many, and it's probably deep and vast and wide. But what's a soundbite? What's one thing that Scientology has done for you and made a difference for you in your life?
So I can make this 5 seconds if you like.
Sure.
Okay. How many of you guys have DirecTV? Right? A few people have DirecTV. How many of you guys do streaming video? Netflix or Amazon or whatever, okay? How many of you guys have iPhones or any kind of phone? Okay. Scientology has this year put out a TV station, and you can find it online, Scientology.org. And this is, you can spend 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 hours on it, whatever it is. And this is a full introduction to who we are, what we do, the world we live that we want to live in, and we're creating with so many of the other good people on this planet. So that would be my short answer to if you're curious about what my religion's about. Now, How has it, I'll boil it down now, that's what, 50 seconds?
For you personally, yeah, you
okay,
have
so
40
now I have
seconds
another
left.
40 seconds. It gives me a certainty. And what attracted me to this faith and this practice, and I've been a Scientologist for over 45 years, is that what is ever true for you is what you know, what you perceive, what you have observed, the life that you live, and what you know works and what doesn't, what's true and not. And I thought that was revelatory, number one. The first thing I did in Scientology was I sat across from somebody and engaged in as a drill on communication. And I sat there watching this person, and we all communicate. But this is just my own personal statement. And I looked at this person, not for the clothes they were wearing or the personality, the appearance or the haircut or anything like that. I was actually looking for the first time at the essence of that person. And what happened to me was I recognized my own essence.
There you go. That's what
Okay? And that, that was in the first 2 days. So I went, okay, this 45
It's a good
years.
thing.
So I hope that communicates. But yeah.
Excellent, perfect. Thank you so much. Renee Whitman, you talked about purpose and value, purpose in life. But what about what's true for one person may not be true for another? How do you in unification, what's the perspective on that? Because someone may have some kind of purpose and someone feels they may have a different purpose. So how do you reconcile that?
Okay, thank you for the question, George. Excuse me. So George asked, is purpose in life, is it universal? Is it the same for every single person, or can it be different for each one of us? And the answer is yes. Okay?
In other words, both.
So, unification principle starts from the point of looking for universals. What's the same for everyone? So, something like the air we breathe. Everyone needs air to breathe. No one argues with it. That's universal. As I mentioned, just the first page of the unification principle, everyone is seeking happiness. That's universal. So our purpose is to find happiness. That is a universal purpose. And to find happiness, the principle goes on and talks about ways to find happiness. You actually find it, that fulfillment, the fulfilling happiness in relationship with others and in relationship with something, as you mentioned, something greater than themselves, greater than ourselves. As far as individualizing purpose, we're all different. According to science, I don't know if they've ever proven it, but they said every snowflake even is unique and different. Every single one. But every snowflake's just made out of water, that H2O I talked about. It's the same thing, but looks different. And it's the same for human beings. So we all have the water of ourselves is put together differently for each one of us. So we all develop individual, personalized purposes. Just jokingly, I mentioned my mother wanted me to be a rabbi because it's a Jewish mother thing. They want their sons to be rabbis. If not rabbi, then at least cantor, but I couldn't sing, so I couldn't do that. And then the next one is doctor, and I don't like blood, so then look for something else. Now, my mother advised me to become an accountant. And why? I like math. Math was easy for me. And she thought, okay, it could be a good profession. I never became an accountant. I was a mathematics major when I started university, but I found that's not me. And I was with all the math people, and I felt like I was a foreigner in a foreign land. Maybe what you had in India, I felt in the math department in my university. And then I took a class in the psychology department, and I felt I came home. And so, nothing wrong with the math department. As now I'm in the math department in my high school, but that's another story. But at that time, I came home. So I found a place where I felt comfortable and I could pursue my skills, my interests, according to my own purpose. So that's why I said the answer to your question, George, is yes.
Yes.
Both. We all have the same purpose, and it's to find that thing that makes us happy, fulfilled within ourselves, in our relationship with each other, and then in producing that kind of family and world of joy, creating something beautiful, or something or someone higher. We all believe in some kind of spirituality, and that's ultimate happiness, is when somehow a universal happiness.
Very good. Let's give a hand for all of our panelists. And we're now going to develop Angelica to bring us to the next part in our group discussion.
Well, wasn't that a powerful discussion? Let's give them another round of applause. In the short time that they had, it was really inspiring to hear their different perspectives on purpose, values, and dreams. And we'd like to keep the conversation going now at our tables and discuss our purpose, values, and dreams, and whether or not we have achieved them. And I'm sure you'd love to hear more from our wonderful panelists. Following the roundtable discussion, they will come back up and answer questions that you have. On the tables, you have blank white cards, and they will be collected. Please give your questions for the panelists, and we'll see them back soon.
Maybe we see the questions. Where are the questions? It's on the table.